Hello, kumusta kayo? My name's Olive de Guzman, your friendly neighborhood physical therapist. And today, I would like to discuss how to prioritize people in your life based on the Bible, and how we can prevent pain, not just on ourselves, but on our loved ones too. All right? So the prioritization to prioritize people is quite important for mental health, and mental health is important for physical health. Okay, so number one, to prioritize is to remember, if this is not prioritization with 911 in mind. If there's a 911 life and death situation, that would be priority. Okay, all right, so the first one is me and God. The second is me and my spouse. Third is me and my kids. 4 is me and my boss at work, in my job. The next is me and parents, others, strangers, other people. All right? So let's start with the first one. How am I prioritizing God? If you think that because you're in a ministry, you are serving God, you have to think twice about that. You have to ask yourself, is this ministry to glorify the Lord or to glorify me? Does it make me feel good or does it make God feel good? And then you have to ask, is my family, immediate family that God gave me to be responsible for, is my immediate family taken care of before I do this ministry? All right? And that's how, you put God first above everybody else. Because without prioritizing God, there will be unrest at home, and everywhere you are, you have unrest because you have unrest inside you. There will be no peace in your soul. You cannot find peace without putting God first. Just remember, if you have God, you have peace, you have rest. Okay? So the second one is your relationship. Wait a minute. Let me go back to the first one. The questions you want to ask is, who are you pleasing? Think about that. And then, God or the people in ministry? Because sometimes we put the people in ministry first, what they request from us, and sometimes people in ministry are so demanding into our time. And are you doing that for God or the people in ministry, to please someone in ministry? Okay? Or we have to remember that people pleasing in the Bible, here's the verse from that is that if you are still pleasing others, you are not a servant of God. So that is like the first thing we have to remember. So the next one is for me and my husband. If that is not taken care of, there is divorce. All right? Now there's so many different cultures where they put their parents before their wife, or they put their parents before their husband, and that is not the way God intended it to be. In Genesis, it says, Genesis 2:24 says, a man leaves his father and mother and hold fast or cleave to his wife, and they shall become one flesh. So if you marry a mama's boy, where the mother is the only one that can do everything right, and the wife will always be wrong, and the wife will never be like the mother, and the mother is being served first before his wife, that is against God's will. And here in Ephesians 5:25, it says, love your wife just as Jesus loved his church, that he gave up his life for her. Now, if you really think about that, how many men really give up their lives for their wives? They might give up for their friends or their mother, but how many men give their life to their wives? Now, the reason why that there is pain in that it causes pain to your spouse, to the wife, is because the wife doesn't really have a lot of capacity to take care of the household all by herself, especially if you have 2, 3, 4, 5 kids. The wife cannot do it alone. So that's why God really wants the husband to make sure that he helps his wife. Okay, now in 1 Peter 3:7, why there are many men that do not pray because their prayers are not answered. But let me tell you something. In 1 Peter 3:7, it says, why, here, let me read it to you. It says, for husbands, this means love your wives, just as Jesus loved his church, he gave up his life for her. And in 1 Peter 3:7, in the same way, your husbands must give honor to your wives. Treat your wife with understanding as you live together. She may be weaker than you are, meaning physically, but she is your equal partner in God's gift of new life. Treat her as you should, meaning love her as you should, honor her as you should, respect her as you should, so your prayers will not be hindered. So what it says is, if you do not put on love, if you don't give love to your wife, if you don't honor your wife, if you look down on your wife, if you disrespect your wife, if you abuse your wife, if you just use your wife, then your prayers will not be answered. This is for men. This is biblical. So that's probably why your prayers are not answers, because you do not respect your wife. You do not give importance to your wife. You don't cherish your wife. So you think about that. Now, in Colossians, it says, Colossians 3:40 says, put on love. That means love is not a feeling that just comes. No, you put it on. It's like clothing. You put it on. And you put it on so you can give to somebody else. If you don't have love within you, if you don't put on love, there's nothing to give. All right? So, and the next thing is the one in Corinthians. It says, love is patient and kind, not easily angered, does not keep a record of wrongs. Well, if you say you love someone and you don't have patience for them, you don't. But wives are also told to submit to your husbands as to the Lord, for the husband is the head of the wife. And there's a problem with this in our culture because of women's lib. So a lot of women think they're the head of the family because they handle finances, they do everything, and they also work. But in God's plan, in God's instruction, it is the man. We have to respect that man as a head of the family. If a woman does not submit to her husband, submission does not mean to be a slave to the husband. Submission is humbling yourself when you talk to him, giving him importance, saying how good and great he is, if he is, telling him the truth and not lying. Be sincere to him. That is submitting to him. All right. So the next one is where am I? The next one is me and the kids. So me and the kids. Now, I know that this is like the number one problem of mothers, especially when they have a lot of kids, not just 1, 2, but 3 or 4 or 5. And loving the kids, we are, just to remember, we are not their friends. We are their parents. And a lot of the mistakes that parenting parents are doing now is that they want their kids to approve of them, especially mothers who are insecure or fathers that are insecure. They buy their way through making so much money so they can give the kids everything they want and saying yes to everything. That is not good parenting, because you are not their friends and you are not there to earn their approval. There is a problem if you have an approval addiction. There's a problem when you want to be when you want to please your children. No, our priority is to teach them about the Lord, teach them what is right and what is wrong, so that when they're out there in the world, they can defend themselves and know themselves. But the problem is that the mothers who are getting hurt by this, there's so much pain because of the stresses that they put on themselves. They put other people, because usually people pleasers, like mothers who are people pleasers, they're not just pleasing kids, they're also trying to please their friends, the ones that they go to for happy hour. They also try to please those people. They try to please people in church. And that's why people pleasing can cause pain, because of the stress you put on yourself. Because if you don't have so many people to please, you don't have so much stress. And people pleasing, when you have this problem, you need to go to counseling so that you will see and you will know what's causing it, because that is a problem. So another problem with mothers and kids relationships is when mothers develop like stay-at-home mom syndrome. This is for mothers who stay at home mom syndrome, where they sweat the small stuff, what kind of peanut butter to buy, and that's a big thing when they go to Walmart and it's not there, what kind of brand they need to buy, toilet paper, and that is the stay-at-home mom syndrome. They're trying to magnify their problems because they want the attention to be on them. They're attention seekers. They want to make their kids happy all the time, and that's wrong. You are here to teach them. And they will eventually realize in their life that you did your best to teach them what's good and what's bad. And that is more important than trying to buy them everything they want. All right? So another thing a stay-at-home mom does, as part of the stay-at-home mom syndrome, is when the husband takes over right after a long day at work, without giving him time to rest and wind down from a hard day at work. And we had mothers, stay-at-home moms that we went to Target one time and we heard them say, "Oh, thank God he's home and the kids are rowdy. He can take care of it," and blah blah blah. That is not right, because a man also, your husband also needs time to wind down just a little bit. Ask him how he's doing. Does he need anything? After great problems at work, you need to ask him how he's doing too. Otherwise, one day when the kids grow up and it's just you and him, you don't even know each other. You don't have anything in common. You have nothing left together without the kids. So the next is number 4 relationship is me and my boss. Oh, before I go there, the effects of what you're doing to your kids, before I go to the boss part, what you're doing to your kids when you give them so much, too much love, give them everything, be a slave to your kids. When they grow up and they're not getting what they want, they're going to develop mental illnesses. They're going to feel depressed because they're not getting what they want. And and if you don't take care of your kids enough, they will also feel a feeling of abandonment. They will also get depressed. So there has to be a balance. So that's why we have the Sabbath. You can rest with your kids. That should be a family day. The Sabbath should be a family day. Bring your kids to church and have a lunch. It should be God's way. And Sabbath is given to us so that we don't hurt ourselves for working all the time. And we don't hurt our loved ones for working all the time. Okay? So now the next is me and my boss. So that relationship is quite is not unusual when the boss tells you to do things. But if the boss requires you to do things all the time, and you no longer have time for your children, then that would be a problem. If the kid is sick and you need to pick him up and the boss says no, that's a problem. If your kid needs you to be in school because of some problems and you cannot go because your boss doesn't allow you to go, that is a problem. But you have to prioritize your kids. So if you prioritize your kids, and what happens is you lose your job. But most of the time, if you have a boss that doesn't know the real problem, you have to tell them the truth. And usually bosses are good when you tell them the truth so they can understand what the problem is, not make excuses. And also, if you are not a chronic liar, like you lie all the time for your, I'm sick, and then they see your post on Facebook or in Instagram, and you think your boss doesn't know, your boss knows that you lie all the time. So if you remain honest and you ask once in a while to go to your kids, to help your kids, or to take care of your kids, most bosses agree to that. So the risk that you take to take care of your kids is you lose your job. But if you lose your job over your kids, you find another one. Some people think that kids are a curse because they're too much to handle. But in Psalm 127 verse 3, it says that children are a gift from the Lord. They are a reward from Him. So if you think about that, you will look at your kids differently. And also in Matthew 19:14, it says, this is Jesus saying, "Let the children come to me. Do not hinder them." So you do not You do not stop the kids from going to church. You do not stop them from knowing who Jesus is. And it says, for the kingdom of heaven belongs to them. And with the kids, angels are always with them. So what you do to them, what you say about them, what abuse you do, or whatever something bad to hurt the kid or to guide them in the wrong way, their angels are with them all the time, and they know. So the next one is me and my parents. Me and my parents. The Bible says that we should honor our mother and father. That means we should respect them, we should love them, and that there is a promise to that. It says that we will be given a long life if we honor our mother and father. So really think about this. But the Bible also says that we should not be in their beck and call all the time, because there are parents, especially mothers who call their son, especially the mama's boy. They call on him all the time, and you're not first in her son's life. It's the mother who is first in her son's life. That is wrong. Now, as a son who is married, you have to think about what God said, is that you leave your mother and father to cleave to your wife. And it says here that in the Bible, it says that you honor your mother and father so that you may live a long life in the land the Lord your God has given you. Instead, we have to trust in God. But the point is clear that as parents get older, when your parents are really old and are no longer able to provide, we have to be responsible for them. That's what the Bible says. So if your parents are still able and they keep calling you to provide for everything they need, that is wrong too, because they are taking your time for your own family, for your own wife. Your wife should be first before your mother, unless your mother is no longer able to take care of herself. So there's a hierarchy of people, of others that we need to help. First is your elderly parents who can no longer take care of themselves. They're the first ones. And then your relatives. And what does the Bible say? It says here in 1 Timothy 5:8, but if anyone does not provide for his relatives, and especially for members of his household, that means your immediate family, he has denied the faith and is worse than an unbeliever. So if you really think about that, it says that you are an unbeliever if you put the others first over your relatives that are in need. And you can give money to your ministry, you can give time to your ministry, you can serve your ministry. That will all be null and void if you have relatives that need you that you don't help. If you have elderly parents that you are not helping, and you are helping the church do this, do that, do this, do that, or your personal close friends, your best friend, but you're not helping your elderly parents and relatives, yes, it says that you are worse than unbelievers. So anyway, to get these priorities straightened out, let me review the list, okay? It says me and God, me and my husband or spouse or special person, me and kids, me and my boss, me and others. And others is me and my parents who are elderly and can no longer work, me and my relatives, me and my friends, and then strangers. So how do we love others? Because that's the commandment. Jesus said, love thy neighbor as thyself. So if we love others more than ourselves, and if we're not doing that priority list, we create so much mental and emotional stress. We add to the stresses that we already have if we add the others to it that we cannot say no to because we are a people pleaser. So how can you decrease the stress in your life? Is to put God first. And if you put God first, everything will follow accordingly. Because if you follow His word, you will see the priorities, and if you follow the correct priorities in your life, then you will decrease the pain in your life because you're decreasing the stress in your life. Because stress is the number one killer, and especially women. 70% of middle-aged women have heart problems, and it's because of that. We take on everything as if we are men. We believe we don't need men. We tell people you don't need your husband, you don't need a man. We are married to share our problems, so that there's somebody to share. And you have to respect that. You have to respect your husband. You give him credit. If he's good at something, tell him. Tell him and remind yourself of why you married him in the first place. Remind yourself. Ask the Lord to help you remind yourself of why you married him, and why we asked for children and everything like that. Because stress is decreased when you rest on God, when you rest on Him. Now, subscribe to my channel over here. And also, thank you.